What's up, everybody? All right, hold on one second here. All right, cool. What's going on? Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy is done. And I think he said that he's not going to try to run for the position again. I think it'd be extremely embarrassing. I mean, it's already embarrassing for him now. He's going down in history as a speaker that didn't even finish his time out. He wasn't even halfway through. Not even halfway through. The last 8 months, Kevin McCarthy's been doing what? He's been doing a lot of talking, and a lot of talking. Not much of anything got done with him. He still allowed the FBI, the DOJ to do all this corruption that was taking place. He kept saying we have the power of the purse. Really? You have the power of the purse, but you still allowed all this to happen. And Joe Biden with this impeachment inquiry should have happened 8 months ago. It should have happened a long time ago. We all knew about the corruption going 8 months ago, but y'all did nothing. You did nothing, Kevin McCarthy. So Kevin McCarthy, he's eating his own words now. He got what he deserved. He really did. He's a RINO through and through. Now, I know some people are like, this is a bad mistake. And I'm guaranteed that you're probably watching Fox News. I guarantee you're probably watching Fox News saying this is a bad mistake. I've been, for those of you who've been watching me, I've been asking for the longest saying, you know what? I want the Republicans to step out of their comfort zone. I want the Republicans to do something that we haven't seen before or we don't expect to happen. I've been asking for this. You know, sometimes they say, be careful what you ask for. But sometimes you have to. You have to put yourself out there. Sometimes you have to take a risk. You have to take a leap of faith. McCarthy was not working for the American people. McCarthy was working for the Democrats. 100% he was working for them. That's why I called him sometimes McCarthy. I was calling him sometimes McCarthy before he became speaker. When he was minority leader, I was calling him sometimes McCarthy. Sometimes he was with the Republicans. Most of the time, he was with the Democrats. But that's all done now. He's done. He's out. No longer the Speaker of the House. Now I'm hoping, and this is my prayer, that the next speaker comes in and doesn't jack around, doesn't, just ride in the boat, giving the Democrats everything they want. Cut the money, cut the funding off to the FBI, to the DOJ, until they get their act together. And let me be clear about something, because those of us on the right, we respect the law and order. We respect the men and women in blue. We respect the FBI, the good men and women at FBI. We just want them to be able to do their jobs and stop listening to these tyrants. Garland, Mayorkas, all of them need to come up immediately for impeachment themselves. They can walk and chew gum. You can do impeachment inquiry on Joe Biden while you're impeaching the rest of them. You need to put Kamala Harris in it too, because the southern border, because she's the border czar. She's the border czar. You can impeach her for that as well. She didn't do her job. There's enough evidence. How much more do you need to see? How many more American deaths do we need to have before you realize that Kamala Harris failed at her job? How many more people in the country need to lose everything until you realize Joe Biden hasn't done his job? And you don't even need that with Joe Biden. Just look at the SARS reports that he did executive order to hide when he first went into office. So this is actually positive in the midst of all this chaos. This is positive. But let me show you the first thing. This is the first thing after they got all the votes tallied together. I just want you to see it for those of you that missed it. This is it right here. History in the making.
The yeas are 216. The nays are 210. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
Wow. Thank you.
All right, that is a stunner. You have never seen what you see unfolding now in the well of the House.
You hear that? And that's Neil Cavuto from Fox News. And they're not happy about this either, because a lot of people on Fox News are a bunch of establishment RINOs. They would rather have Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, Fat Christie, Krispy Kreme. They would rather have someone like that in the position where Trump is. They don't want Trump. So they're upset with this because Kevin McCarthy, Kevin, for those of you that don't know, and for those of you who don't like to hear this, Kevin McCarthy was just through and through RINO. He was sometimes McCarthy. He was a lot of times, most of the times, for the Democrats. Well, before they took this vote this morning, Kevin McCarthy decided to come out and give a word of, how do I want to say this? Words of wisdom? Is that how we can say this? Right? He's literally, last night on X, Matt Gaetz was putting posts out there about Kevin McCarthy not keeping to his word, not telling the truth, and not working for the American people, but working for the Democrat Party. And Kevin McCarthy told Matt Gaetz on X, just all caps, if I remember correctly, he said, "Bring it." Kevin McCarthy told Matt Gaetz to bring it. So Kevin McCarthy, with all of his arrogance, completely being arrogant, Kevin McCarthy decides to go this morning before the cameras, I started to say the comedians, right? The news media, before the news media, and say that, let's do it. Let's go. I'm bringing it up for a vote today. Because, see, Kevin McCarthy could have pushed it till Friday, to my understanding. He could have pushed it. He could have waited. But he said, nope, let's do it today. Let's get it over with. Let's show. He planned on going in and making Matt Gaetz look embarrassed. That was his plan. But it backfired on him.
It's like the Hotel California. You can check out anytime you like.
You can just never leave. I'm from California. We just had a really good conference in there. We talked about what we're going to take on the floor. We got our appropriation bills up. I'm going to bring up the motion to vacate today. We'll do it in the first series and move through this.
Speaker McCarthy, will you still be Speaker of the House by the end of tonight?
You know, if I counted how many times someone wanted to...
Did you hear that question? I talked about this earlier on LFA. The lady asked the question, do you think you can be Speaker of the House at the end of the day? And listen to what he says. Listen to what he says.
And move through this.
Speaker McCarthy, will you still be Speaker of the House by the end of tonight?
You know, if I counted how many times someone wanted to knock me out, I would have been gone a long time ago.
So
yes.
Can you explain a little bit about why do it today? I mean, the idea that you
why not
rip the Band-Aid off here, or what?
Well, why not? You know, look, I think Matt has planned this all along. It didn't matter what we transpired. You know, he would have done it if we were in shutdown or not. I firmly believe it's the right decision to keep government open, to make sure our military is still paid, our border agents are still paid. And if that makes a challenge based upon whether I should be Speaker, I'll take that fight.
So you're calling us bluff.
You hear this? That was just a talking point. That's not the reason why Matt Gaetz wanted him removed. That's not the reason. He brings up that he wanted to fund the military, which we know that we're conservative Republicans, all of us on the right, we want to fund the military. That goes without question. And he knows that. That's why he's trying to make it look like Matt Gaetz is trying to remove him because Matt Gaetz doesn't want him to fund the military. That's not it at all. We're tired of them lying to us. We're tired of them funding Ukraine when we shouldn't be funding Ukraine. There's people in Hawaii that lost everything, and they're willing to send billions of our dollars to Ukraine and not to Hawaii. That's the reason we have an open border that they refuse to close. Instead of protecting Ukraine's borders, we won't even protect their own border. That's what Matt Gaetz is talking about. That's what he's talking about. McCarthy should have kept his word. McCarthy did not keep his word. That's what he's talking about. Well, here's McCarthy after he got bounced. I haven't listened to this. My producer just got this, so we're going to listen to this together.
Right? You, Paul Ryan.
Eric Cantor, yeah.
Now, all three of you guys have been essentially...
Well, we're not that young anymore.
Well, you already have been pushed out by so-called more conservatives.
No, let's be fair, and it's wrong that you ever say. They are not conservatives. They voted against One, the greatest cut in history that Congress has ever voted for, $2 trillion. They voted against work requirements. They voted against NEPA reform. They voted against border security. They voted against... They don't get to say they're conservative because they're angry and they're chaotic. That's not the party I belong to. The party of Reagan was if you believed in your principles that you could govern in a conservative way. They are not conservatives and they do not have the right to have the title.
So what is McCarthy? What is McCarthy? Is McCarthy conservative? McCarthy is a RINO. That's the whole point. You have people like McCarthy, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Liz Cheney, Adam Kissinger, Michael Steele, and there's a few other people that call themselves Republicans, and they're not. They're RINOs through and through. They're straight up Democrats trying to convince everybody that they are Republicans, conservatives, and they're not. They never side with the facts. They never side with the truth. They always side with the Democrats. They always side with those who don't look at America and want America to thrive. Well, here's Matt Gaetz after they ousted McCarthy. He goes outside, and of course, all of the press media, the government state media, all of them there talking to him, and they're trying to get Matt Gaetz to say, yes, I want to be Speaker of the House. And he straight up says, no, I don't want to be Speaker of the House. And because Matt Gaetz is like, no, I don't want the position. I kind of want him to be in the position. Because see, Kevin McCarthy, he wanted it. He wanted it bad. He wanted to be Speaker. Maybe we need someone who really doesn't want to be Speaker, but will do the right thing. You understand?
Analyzed the House of Representatives today. To whose benefit? People have called you a narcissist. People say that is to your benefit alone. Is it to the benefit of you and to Donald Trump?
It's the benefit of this country that we have a better Speaker of the House than Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy couldn't keep his word. He made an agreement in January regarding the way Washington would work, and he violated that agreement. We are $33 trillion in debt. We are facing $2.2 trillion annual deficits. We face a de-dollarization globally that will crush Americans, working class Americans. Kevin McCarthy is a feature of the swamp. He has risen to power by collecting special interest money and redistributing that money in exchange for favors. We are breaking the fever now, and we should elect a speaker who's better.
So if not Kevin McCarthy, then who? Then who?
You said last night that Steve Scalise was a name that you floated to potentially be speaker. Where do things stand right now? If not McCarthy, then who?
Well, the stages of grief, I think, are in progress right now with some of my colleagues. I think there was a stage of denial, and I've certainly experienced a good amount of their anger, and now we appear to be headed toward bargaining. I think the world of Steve Scalise. I think he'd make a phenomenal speaker.
We've got less than 45.
I'm afraid of $33 trillion in debt crushing the working people in my district. I'm afraid of the dollar losing its status as the global reserve currency. If they want to expel me, let me know when they have the vote.
We've got less than 45 days left before we've got less than 45 days left before you have to pass a budget, which is something that you've been wanting to do. Doesn't this just completely paralyze the House? I mean, we could see 15 more rounds.
I don't think we will. I think Kevin McCarthy should take a hint. After 15 ballots to become Speaker, after 8 months of a failed speakership, and after removal in this historic manner, I think we should move on and find somebody else. What's paralyzed the House of Representatives has been the failure of Speaker McCarthy. What paralyzed the House of Representatives was not taking up appropriations bills. We left for a 6-week vacation while the appropriations process hung in the balance. And because I forced these people to take a few votes, you think I'm paralyzing the House of Representatives? I think the House of Representatives has been paralyzed for the last several decades as we've refused to pass a budget, as we've governed by continuing resolution and omnibus bill. So I think that this represents the ripping off of the Band-Aid, and that's what we need to do to get back on track.
How do you pass anything if 200 Republicans? How do you pass anything?
What do you say to your colleagues who argue you don't have another name right now? You don't have someone else who could get 218 votes. What do you tell those colleagues?
Well, I would tell them that for certain, Kevin McCarthy can't get 218 votes, so let's try the next person.
So how do you pass something with
pro tem, obviously?
There would have to be a real meeting of the minds there.
Congressman Gaetz, how do you pass something if there's 200 Republicans?
Somebody else has another question.
Are you going to ask for a guarantee from whoever is floated as a candidate for the next speaker for them to actually move the appropriations process along in a speed that satisfies you?
Yes.
Congressman, at this
So
point,
will you be putting yourself forward for the speakership? Absolutely not. I have no desire to be Speaker of the House.
How do you pass, Congressman, with all due respect?
You know what? That's what they really want to get. Oh, you just did this because you wanted to be Speaker. And he just straight up said it. No, he doesn't want it. He doesn't want it. So I have so much respect for Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz actually did something that other Republicans should have done a long time ago. They should have done this when Bush was in office. They should have done it a long, long time ago. They're doing it now. And for those of you that have ever watched me before, you've heard me say this. I'm asking for the Republicans to step out of their comfort zone and do something dramatic because our country is going to hell. It really is. You have the Democrats literally crippling our nation. And McCarthy, he's the leader of the House. Or, sorry, past tense. He was the leader of the House. He could have prevented what is happening. He could have put a damper on it. But he didn't. 8 months has gone by, and we're still in the same predicament, and it's just done nothing but gotten worse. And he's like, well, okay, let's just go ahead and do an impeachment inquiry. We're not going to do anything else other than that. We'll just do an inquiry. And Kevin McCarthy would allow that inquiry to go on for the next 4 years. When it's just blatant corruption, not doing anything about it. He once said that we control the purse, but did nothing to fix it.
Respect, how do you pass something if you don't have 200 Republicans behind you?
I know we've already asked about names, but what about Emmer and others?
I think the world of Tom Emmer. He'd make a great speaker.
Congressman, have you spoken with Scalise? Have you spoken with Emmer?
I've spoken with him, but I'll probably keep our conversations between us.
What's Congressman take the speaker?
Ben, what was going through your head when the vote gabbled down and it was official McCarthy wasn't Speaker?
We got to move to the next step. You know, we are not at the end of this process, okay? At most, we're approaching halftime. We've got to be able to assemble a governing coalition. We have to build from a place of trust. The reason Kevin McCarthy went down today is because nobody trusts Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy has made multiple contradictory promises, and when they all came due, he lost votes of people who maybe don't even ideologically agree with me on everything. Take, for example, my colleague from South Carolina, Ms. Mace. She has different views than I do on a variety of subjects, but what we had in common, Kevin McCarthy lied to all of us.
Congressman, hold on a second. You're saying that nobody trusts Kevin McCarthy, but you're talking about, including yourself, about 7 Republicans compared to about 200 and about, some odd Republicans who actually do trust him. So can you kind of explain that here?
Well, as it turns out, getting 200 Republicans to trust you isn't enough to stay Speaker.
Compared to
That's exactly it. And you know what? I was sitting there thinking, because there was 8 Republicans that actually grew a pair and actually thought about the country first. 8 Republicans. The other Republicans, they were too timid. They were too scared to do the right thing. Here's a prime example of that. Look at Lori Boebert. She goes on Newsmax, right? Or I'm sorry, not Newsmax anymore, but she goes on Real America's Voice. And she's literally saying that she didn't vote to have Kevin McCarthy removed, but she agrees with it. This is how spineless, no backbone Republicans are. I can't stand that. If you agreed with it, why didn't you vote to have him removed? Stand up, be strong. Listen.
The amount of people that we have in our coalition here who have joined, certainly we see some new names that we did not see in January for the Speaker's vote who have had enough.
All right, so I'm going to give the people a little bit of inner circle stuff. I was texting you earlier today, and I said, I'm worried about siding with Democrats. This is my concern. Right. I don't think it's going to go through. Had that led you, anyway, not my text to you, but had that led you or your belief of why you voted no on vacating the seat?
Yes, really, it's all about timing. Certainly, I don't want the Democrats to have an upper hand. I didn't want them cutting more deals with Kevin McCarthy. We've heard about the Ukraine deal and tied with the southern border with Joe Biden, the secret deal that was made. And certainly, I didn't want an opportunity for more of those, but also just the timing. I want the federal government funded. I want to get through this appropriations process. And it was probably going to be unsuccessful, given that Kevin McCarthy was so desperate for a continuing resolution. But I was willing to give that amount of time to say, we tried it. We got our bills through the House, and then he still went with a continuing resolution. Nevertheless, even though I didn't think that it was time to remove him today, I do believe that it was the right vote. I'm very proud of Matt Gaetz and my other colleagues who stood firm with him and voted to vacate the chair. And I certainly am frustrated by the broken promises, the secret deals, and failed leadership. And
then if you're actually sick and tired of it, see, this what irks me to no end. If she was tired of it, why didn't she vote to have him removed? She voted the opposite way. She's listing off all of the stuff that he promised to do. He didn't keep his word, but she said it's the right thing to do, but she didn't do it. This is what you call a spineless Republican. I can't stand that to no end. I mean, you understand what I'm saying. Why would she not vote for it then? And the only reason why she's going with it, because I'm telling you, she's probably looking on social media, looking all on Facebook and X and wherever, looking at people like Will Johnson and looking at people like you saying this is a good thing. And then she's like saying, that's the only reason why she's saying it. I guarantee she's like looking all through there, seeing all of the positive comments about what Matt Gaetz has done. That's the only reason why she's saying it. And I'm telling you, there's many other Republicans that's thinking the same way she is because they're too timid to say anything, too timid to do anything. Because they're scared of losing their seat. They don't want to say anything. Just don't do anything, don't do anything that'll upset the Democrats really bad because then, this is ridiculous.
Time and time again, we have seen legislation come to the floor that the majority of Republicans do not support. But that may all be over with now because Grant, there is a GOP conference meeting happening right now where Kevin McCarthy just told our conference he does not plan to run for speaker again.
Yeah, he's not going to do it again. He's done. He's done. He should have been done a long time ago. He should have been done 7.5 months ago. And you know what is really interesting? The video I just played when I first started, well, one of the videos, right when Kevin McCarthy came out this morning. Yesterday, Matt Gaetz was talking about removing Kevin McCarthy. And this morning, to my understanding, I think I mentioned this already, Kevin McCarthy could have waited till like Friday, if I'm not mistaken, because he was the Speaker of the House. He could say, okay, we're going to take the vote on Friday. But he came this morning all cocky and said, nope, we're going to do it this morning. Because he's like, bring it. We're going to do it this morning. He went in there expecting Matt Gaetz to be embarrassed. Never before have I seen Kevin McCarthy do anything that quick. Nothing. 8 months have gone by. Joe Biden's still getting away with all the criminal activity. The DOJ, the FBI, Garland's lying, all of them lying. He says they have the power of the purse. Remove the purse from them. Remove the purse. It's not defunding them. It's preventing them from doing what they're doing. Well, let me share something else with you. Look at Ilhan Omar. This is really interesting to me. Look how Ilhan Omar is looking at Matt Gaetz. It's really interesting. It's kind of, at least Matt Gaetz is a man and she's a woman. Watch this. Look at her. What's she looking at? What's she doing with her lips? Does she need some chapstick? She's not chewing on gum. What's she looking at? She's really checking out Matt Gaetz. Look at her. What is she looking at? What's she looking at? Y'all tell me what she's looking at. Again, at least she's looking at a man. At least you're looking at a man. Wow. You know what, everybody? This is a good thing. In the midst of all this chaos, in the midst of all this darkness, we have something actually good turn out. And right now, a lot of people, you have people on the right, a lot of people on the right, they're piping mad about this. President Trump put out a statement and said the Republicans should not be fighting. And you know what? That's true. Republicans should not be fighting. But McCarthy was not for the Republicans. McCarthy was more for the Democrats than he was for anybody else. Or he wouldn't have made these side deals with Biden. He wouldn't have made these side deals to fund Ukraine while we have people in America hurting, while we have our southern border in shambles. He wouldn't have done it, but he did it. Wow. What a good thing. What a good thing. The next thing, the crazy thing next is going to be what happens next, right? And I'm going to say this. We need to pray. I got my shirt on. Pray. We need to pray. We need to pray that someone gets in office that's not going to do what Kevin McCarthy did. Someone who's going to put America first, stop all this spending, unnecessary spending and this wokeism, all of this going to stuff that's not benefiting the American people, that's going to stand up to the tyrants. We need a Speaker of the House that can intervene, that will intervene what they're doing to President Trump. We need someone to intervene on that. We're not a third world nation. We're not a communist nation. We don't lock up people who's running against us because they're beating us in the polls. We don't do that. We need a Speaker of the House that has a pair that will stand up for the American people, or just say, give it up. And for those of you that are upset because Kevin McCarthy's out, you don't care that they're getting away with destroying our country. It's like you're in acceptance of it. That's sad. That's sad. God bless. Good night.